We could be holding up our light. We could be fighting for what's right. Or we could be falling to pieces. Under the bridge of fire burns, somewhere the pages start to turn, and somebody whispers, I need this. I will do anything just to make you see. Don't apologize for what's in your dreams. Maybe this time will be different. It's only us. It's only us. It's only
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Hopefully everything should work out here. Hi, everyone. Give me a moment. Not only am I checking the audio levels right now, but I just realized something because I'm a big doo-doo head of changing the category on Twitch, which would be kind of important. Okay, so we got good volume levels now. Let's change some of these tags I put in here, because I knew I forgot something, and that's exactly what I forgot, is to change the tags on here because I am an absolute genius. So let's add some tags. Let's add lockpick, add metalwork, let's add master lock. It's a fun types we're going to be covering today. Bypass, door, key, and let's see, put lock picking, and I think that's good for that. I have to change the descriptor. Actually, let's see. We'll look at the. Can't believe I forgot to change all of this. I am so much of a doo-doo head. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, perfect. So that's done there. Well, let's go to DLive real quick and do the same thing, and then we will be on our road with this very short, very quick stream we're going to have here today. So that's going to be fun. So just hang on tight a little bit longer, because I know when we go to DLive, yep, it should not be in cryptocurrency. It should be in other, if I remember correctly. And for some reason now I can't. Oh, I think I can't save it while it's live. Shoot. Well, there goes DLive for me. Anyhow, while we're working on that, I guess let's just get everything on the road here. Hello, everyone on the interwebs. People call me Sidepocket. I am one of the two co-founders of DCG 201. I also just realized I'm wearing the wrong shirt. I mean, you can't go wrong with SummerCon, but I literally picked out a shirt that I wear on this show and completely forgot to do it. But I will do it when we do the changeover. Anyhow, DCG 201, let's talk about it real quick. We are one of the many, 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 many DEF CON groups that exist across the United States and around the world, which are places where computer hackers and tinkerers and software programmers and just odd folk in general like to meet up. We usually meet every third Friday of the month, although we didn't have a meeting this Friday because my schedule has been crazy. Just as an alert, because we're going to post this tomorrow, we are actually going to have our meetup on the 23rd. So that's next Friday. We're also going to be, again, the fourth Friday of the month, which should be the 28th, I believe, because PumpCon is unfortunately coming up. So we're going to announce some schedule changes starting tomorrow, but that's when that's happening. And if you want to know more information about who we are and all the sorts of stuff that we do, you go check out our Medium blog at defcon201.medium.com, because right now our website's kind of on the fritz. We're slowly rebuilding that. We should have our website completely finished in October. If you want to follow us and get alerts to when we go on air, you can do one of two things. You can either like, share, subscribe on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube, which is our main streaming platforms. You will get alerts when we go on live. If you follow us while we're live, we also get alerts that, hey, so-and-so followed us and we cheer you on, the normal live streaming spiel. Or you can go follow our social media. Now in chat, I just posted the big link tree that shows all of our social media posts. Our two common ones that I can say on air are DEFCON 201 NJ on Twitter and DEFCON 201 on Instagram, but we're on many others. I'm resending the Medium blog link just because there was an odd thing that happened with one of the stream things. But yeah, we're on GitHub, we're on the hostducks social instance of Mastodon, we're on minds.com, we're on all sorts of platforms. Finally, let's look here. We are also streaming on a couple of other platforms. One of them is unfortunately Facebook, and Facebook sucks. So the odd thing about Facebook is that you essentially have to sort of hack it in order to make it work. So if you're watching us on Facebook and you want to chat with us, I just posted the link in the chat, that URL that you can type in on a separate browser window so you can chat with us. And finally, before we get into what this show's about and what our episode's going to be today, just as a reminder that all the way until the end of October, We might actually extend that into November just because of the way my scheduling has been. We are trying to raise money for the National Abortion Federation, which in addition to the SCOTUS ruling being terrible for people with uteruses as well as family, friends, and spouses of those people, it also, like dead serious, rolled back a lot of just base privacy laws for all American citizens, no matter what your background, sexuality, or gender is. It's just really bad. And National Abortion Federation not only covers just general contraceptives in general, it's not just abortion, things like condoms and sex education, but they are also putting boots on the ground in order to protest the SCOTUS ruling, as well as they're also kind of like the EFF to some degree, where they're sending out lawyers and legal teams to try to reverse the ruling. So we are trying to raise money for them. Our goal, we're trying to get to $400, but no matter what you donate, when we end our donation drive, all the money that's currently donated and that will be donated hopefully by you will go directly to that organization, whether we meet our goal or not. It's also handled through a third party called Tiltify, which is a great professional third party for charities. That way you can show we don't handle any of the money because we know how scrupulous that can be. And there's multiple ways if you want to donate, whether you're donating $20 or donating $5 or even $1. You have multiple options. If you are on Twitch right now, you can scroll to the bottom. There's a little widget for Tiltify that will be able to open it without having to leave the stream. You can also, and I swear it's not a browser napping thing, there's a QR code from Tiltify that you can scan on the lower left corner. Or if all else fails, I am actually going to post the direct donation link in the chat, and I'll be doing small reminders of that as we stream. So, what is this show about? Well, in addition to normally live streaming our meetings, although we're still trying to set up with our new venue and stuff, we also like to stream various topical shows. Some are recurring, some are like news events, like when a big HackerCon is live streaming and we react to it. I have two ongoing shows. One is Crypto Barons, which happened last Saturday, and in fact is going to happen next week on Sunday, so we're moving it a day just because my schedule's been crazy. And then this show, which is called The Master of Unlocking, the seemingly most popular show of the live streams, where I, as a member of TOOOL, that's the open organization of lockpickers, teach how lock mechanisms work, physical security methods, basically anything involving with a door protecting valuables, and often they have locks, and how those locks are set up, and the tools and techniques like such as these lockpicks, which this is my everyday carry set, in order to defeat those lock mechanisms. And essentially, lockpicking and bypassing and shimming, things like that. We normally stream every first and third Sunday of the month, although here's the thing, and this is kind of public news. Basically, if you want to know why my schedule has been particularly crazy this month, I got a second job. I got a second job, and so they're still trying to figure out what the scheduling is, and I got the schedule for this week, and basically I will be working normally when we air this episode. So that's why I made an executive decision last night when I got my new schedule to move it up on Saturday. And in fact, once I get a more permanent schedule, we might be able to keep the first and third Sunday. We might have to move it around permanently. We'll see how it goes. But this is sort of because I won't be able to get to it tomorrow, I decided to jump ahead and do it today. It's like daylight savings time, except for live streaming. So what are we going to explore today? Well, I was looking around, as I do, at my local hardware store, which is, believe it or not, a lot of the crazy locks that you see on this show. I don't go to like eBay or Banggood or whatever and find something. It's always at my local hardware shops that I'm not going to say the names of. And I was looking around for something, and I saw a lock that I thought was one thing, turned out to be a completely different thing, okay? And even though it wasn't what I wanted, it had a lot of unique stuff that, guess what, I bought that lock, and I'm doing it anyhow. And that is, it's kind of heavy, it's over here. That is this bike lock from Master Lock. It's a U-lock called the 8170D. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. We have sort of a new setup for the table and live streaming, because if you haven't noticed, we are not at McDonald's anymore. Yay for that. I like eating at McDonald's. It's just trying to live stream from there. Blech. So this is what we're going to do. I have to do some do-si-dos with the cameras. I have to change to the shirt I was supposed to wear for today. as well as, take a drink and breathe and slam my head into the wall and stuff like that. So we're going to go on a roughly 1 minute break. You'll notice a camera shift now because of what happened with OBS earlier. You will not see my face this episode. Most of the episode, this is going to be a short episode, by the way, so I'm going to say it's going to go on for like 30, 40 minutes. You're going to primarily see my hand, so it's going to be very traditional, like lock-picking lawyer, lock lab, lock noob, the traditional hands and no face sort of thing for most of it. And then at the end, we'll take another short break and you'll see my face and we'll wrap up. And we're going to end either at or before, maybe slightly after 8 p.m. just because, again, this is going to be a busy week and it's going to be a very busy end to September. October is going to be a lot more stable. So I'm really excited for that. So anyhow, let's go on a quick break, enjoy the music, and I am going to set the camera up so we can go pick this lock. Okay, so see you in a bit. All right. Let's do this, the audio, and we're going to quickly go to desktop mode temporarily. You can kind of see a little preview of what everything looks like. It actually looks pretty good so far. Before we go on, I just want to mention that, as you see on the screen, yes, that is the DCG 201 website. Actually, I should clarify, not the website, that's our Medium blog. Our website, again, we've been working on stuff. There's going to be a lot of new stuff we're going to be debuting in October that I'm particularly excited for. So I hope everyone stays tuned for all of that. But without further ado, we have about 30 to 40 minutes here. Let's get into the big lock. So ta-da! This is sort of the workspace. What you don't kind of see here is that I have a very, very, very huge table that I kind of get to work with. And again, I don't have the Elmo anymore. I'm actually going to try to get something better than that I've been wanting for a while. And try to adjust this here. Oh, that's the problem. There we go. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, and it's weird because like what you don't see here is that there's like a pole in between my face and the actual master lock. And in fact, I'm going to try to skip this cord out of the way if I can. Or there we go. All right. But I think this should be good enough for what we need to do. So, as I said, I was walking around and I initially saw this master lock 8170D. And it's, as we can see here, it is one of those bike locks that you see everywhere where you can lock one of the main shafts of the bike, or if you're not particularly bright, sometimes I see people lock the wheels, which is honestly absolutely hilarious considering that you can just take the wheels off and take the rest of the bike. I mean, then you have a one-wheeled bike, but some people are that desperate when it comes to bike stuff. And I'm looking up something right now because I was really excited for a very particular reason when I saw this lock, because I actually originally mistook this lock for something completely different. I originally thought that this was a master lock 8184D, because every time I put in the 8170D, I got the videos for that type of lock, and that made me extremely excited, simply because hey there, Kiri Blood Rose, how you doing? But this is that got me particularly excited because a lot of bike locks are distatainer locks, and as you probably have seen in previous episodes, I was one of the first people on Sparrow's website to get the infamous tool that Bosny and Bill and Lockpicking Lawyer made, which if you're playing the Lockpicking Lawyer drinking game, you can drink now. And yes, that is a real thing, and in fact, I am. My plan is that on the last Master of Unlocking for this year, we're going to actually play the Lockpicking Lawyer drinking game, and we are going to drink on the stream, and we're going to see how that goes. I'll have the rules and everything. But yeah, this is the very impressive, very fascinating distatainer lock, and so that's what I thought this was. Until not only did I proceed to look at the keyway here, and I know this is not the best camera, but not only did I proceed to look at the keyway, but even if I didn't notice that, even when I line it up, I can't actually properly fit it into this lock. I can like semi-tension it, and then the actual picking head, which is now semi-stuck, there we go, has gone nowhere. And that bummed me out a bit because, you know, I've been looking for a proper distatainer lock. Similar for a while, I was looking for proper tubular and Chicago locks so that I could do a dedicated episode to it, because I have a clear lock for the distatainer lock, the lock picks and keys and stuff. I just don't have a real world example. But I ended up looking more into this lock and finding some very odd peculiarities of, hold on, let me readjust the camera. Very odd peculiarities on how this lock kind of works and how it's set up. So I decided to purchase this lock anyhow, and then sort of see what's going on from there. In fact, I just want to, let's see if I can do this. Move this down, my mouse pad. Let's actually, I just want to move the logo down a bit here. So there we go. I think that's a little bit more. You can kind of see it better there, even though my arm's going to get in the way once in a while. I also want to mention before I continue on, I really love an active chat. Active chats where we're discussing things, where you're talking amongst yourselves, really fires me up and gets me going on this show. So if you have any questions about, well, unfortunately you can't see how crazy my hair is. This is sadly not one of those episodes. But if you have any questions about what I'm doing, what this lock is, the techniques, how's my day, stuff like that, feel free to ask in the chat. Otherwise, if you're just here to learn what I'm learning and screwing up, then as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. So yeah, I started taking a look at this lock, and let's kind of break down what you see here with the packaging, what it says, how it looks, to show you kind of why I wanted to do this lock. Even though it's not the distatainer lock that I wanted. So obviously we have the glorious Master Lock logo. And I just want to take a quick tangent to say that, and I'm going to say this at my talk next year, because I have a big lockpicking talk. You know, a lot of people shit on Master Lock, and rightfully so in terms of consumer stuff, where most of Master Lock products, not all of them, there are actually, believe it or not, Master Lock products that are really good and are really got their threat models and are surprisingly difficult. But that a lot of the locks are low quality, flat bidding, and almost no security measures, and easy to do. However, I would also argue, even though this is probably not their intention, that on the flip side, without master locks, most people would be probably starting off with intermediary locks, and a lot of people wouldn't get into lockpicking because they wouldn't know the basics to pick unless they got practice tumblers that were made by design or they made those themselves. So And especially even with practice tumblers, people want to have real world locks that they want to pick open, not only to learn in a real situation, but to also be satisfied. So, without master locks, we wouldn't have the master lock 120 and 140s. We wouldn't have the master lock 1 through 5s and master lock 15s and master lock 175s and all the other products that we use to introduce to newcomers and to build them up so that they could go to those intermediary and advanced locks. So I actually want to take the time, even though I have an odd feeling that this might defeat me this episode, just because I'm going to show how it is, to thank Master Lock essentially for making shitty locks so that instructors like me can actually have good real-world locks and tools to teach our craft for. See, just said, I'm just going to watch how you do it. Not sure of the questions I want to ask about this. Just any that pop in your head. Thing about trolling is most trolling on live streaming is lame. That's actually the main reason why I block it. And spam is just obvious because it just clutters things. But let's continue to look at the packaging. So as it says here, the model. So all master locks have a model number that's usually in the upper right corner of each side of the packaging. And the model, that model not only usually says the exact number says exactly what this product is, so you can go look it up online. But a lot of times, there'll be various things about these numbers that will tell you things. Like, for example, there's certain number of positions where if there's a number in that position, that means that's part of a series. And if you see locks that look similar, that have similar numbers, maybe one's higher than the other slightly, they're probably part of the same group. You'll have little things like the D at the end, which I've learned usually stands for disc, which again is what originally confused me about this, but let's get into that a little bit later. Or sometimes you'll see a number, like let's say they'll say a combination lock, and you'll see the exact same number as a number combination lock, but it says word on it. And word means that instead of using numbers, it uses the alphabet on the dials. So these sort of numbers are really important. If you ever want to know what a master lock or even other brands of locks, how they work, just look up their number, type it into YouTube and see what pops up. I guarantee 8 times out of 10 there's at least a lockpicking lawyer video about it. Also with these numbers is that Master Lock makes it really easy by always putting it on the upper right hand corner of the packaging. That's their usual tough under fire logo, which I'll give them that. A lot of Master Lock products, not most, but a lot, their real strength in security is literally strength. A lot of them are really hard to pry open with tools, cut in half, set on fire without some difficulty. So there's good things about that. So as the description says here, this is a keyed I don't really have like Zoom or anything. That's what I'm going to work on. But this is a keyed U-lock, and it says in multiple language. Its features are hardened steel shackle, which I believe them on, a carrier bracket, which is what's clipped into here that I'm going to have to take off, and the 2 keys, which I've already removed from the lock body, this is particularly what we're going to look into here. But let's flip this over and get more of the general packaging stuff. So over here it has pictograms of how you would actually link this to your bike, and because of the way the pictogram lines up, they look like 3 bikes that all share the same oblong wheel in the interior. We have a little instruction on how to do the bracket insert that's attached to this. We have diameters with a outline of the lock in general. So we have a little like drawing of it here, and it says that that the shackle from the base of the lock to the top of the loop, oops, right here, is 8 inches or 20 centimeters. The width of this entire lock body is 6 1/8 inches or 15 centimeters. And the width of the bar for the loop here, the U part, is 1.5 inch or 13 millimeters. Let's now look at, it says contents is 1 U-lock, 1 carrier bracket, and that's pretty much it in multiple languages. And then it says suggested use, bicycles and sports equipment. Point number 1 is high security disc cylinder for maximum pick resistance. So that's the weird thing, is that when it said disc cylinder, again, most of these are disc detainer locks, which is what I was excited for. However, which threw me for a loop, is that they said disc cylinder, not disc detainer. So I think the disc part is the actual, lock body rather than the actual metal bracket method of securing the lock. So that threw me off, both the description on the packaging and usually what type of lock this is. And I'm going to read your comment in a moment. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm just going to go through this. Hardened steel 1.5 inch, aka 13 millimeter shackle, resists cutting. Covered shackle and lock body for add scratch resistance. So this is not painted onto the metal. This is actually like a rubberized body. You can actually see the hint of metal over here, the original metal. You probably use a very sharp blade in order to peel that off if you want to, although we're not going to do that today. And then it says carrier bracket included for convenient storage, which again is the thing we're going to clip off. I'm going to read the comment now. It says, I've just been working on a talk about how trolling can be a form of social engineering, trolling depending on the execution of the troll and the quality of it. Well, that's the whole thing. There's always a fine line with that, because there's, some trolls for fun. All trolling is technically some form of social engineering. It just really depends on the malicious level and goals. And to be honest, someone who grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, when I was an adult in the early 2000s, I might clarify, I felt that memes were a lot more funny and a lot more clever than they are today. Now people just like post a weird picture with a political slogan and they think it's a meme. But I'm not going to get into that. It's not because it's non-PC or anything, but simply because I want to get through this lock and I have a limited amount of time. So I've already cut this top part, so we're just going to remove this from the sleeve here. So just once you get rid of the tape, it simply folds out from here, and you just slide it off. So I'm going to be right back. I need to get my cutting instrument. There are two zip clip bands on here that I did not anticipate. And then we're going to look at the keys, which is going to kind of explain why I got this lock in the first place. So give me a moment here. I just have to travel around the world to the other side of the room. I am in a very, for all of you who didn't tune in to Crypto Barons last Saturday, I am in a secret hacker underground headquarters that I will not disclose the information of where it's from. Just know that I am doing okay and that, again, this is way better than streaming at McDonald's. So we're going to get this guy, and this is where I get to prove, hopefully, that I am not our co-founder, our other co-founder, G.I. Jack. So we got that one off. Question, are you British or from the United Kingdom Isles? Because I noticed the particular way you said the word ass, to which over there is arse. And just to note, I am not for, I'll put it this way, like most hackers, I am not a fan of political corruption, so I'm very obviously not a fan of the monarchy. And in fact, there's going to be probably an episode of Master of Unlocking where I will make some digs about that. I am slowly working on that just because I'm trying to get my mailing situation sorted out now. This kind of clips on here, so I have to kind of take that off. So this is the, I'm not going to undo the plastic. This basically I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to toss this in terms of not being able to ever use this. This is sort of a thing where I believe there's screws in here and you clip it on one side onto the pole. I believe it's this side, and then you put this thing on, you clip this onto here, and then screw that on, and it holds it in place. So that's what this plastic thing's for. We're not going to need it for this episode. We're instead going to look at sort of a lock body here. So obviously, if you've ever used the bike lock before, oh, United States, interesting then how you spell that. Are you a transplant? Did you move from the United Kingdom? I'm curious, or Australia? Or some other English-speaking country that is not United States America. But anyhow, which is probably why there's still that hint of metal here. So the way this basically works is there's cylinder and then the actuator. There's an actuator that holds down the clamps, these two sections of the bar. And so when you turn the lock, when you obviously have the correct bitting, this should disengage these two parts of the shackle, and then it slides out like out and about that way. But here's what makes this kind of fascinating. So again, I originally thought that this was going to be a disdetainer because a lot of bike locks are disdetainers, and Master Lock makes bike locks that are apparently easy to do disdetainers. So I'm still going to look for one of those, or even just might even import from, speaking of the British Isles, the UK, a disdetainer lock, so we can actually finally do the disdetainer episode before the end of the year ends. However, what I did notice, which I did bring an example of, if you can look down in the shackle, and I know, again, this is not the best camera, But you might notice something familiar that we've seen on other episodes, and I'll get its cousin in order to show you what I mean here. And I actually have it upside down. So as you can see, there are no pins, so this is not pin and tumblers, but instead there's these little metal slots up and down all the way the length of the inside. And that's because this is actually a wafer lock. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because we covered it on a previous episode, but essentially a wafer lock works in the same method in terms of little pieces of metal in between the space between the core tumbler and the rest of the body, and that when you move the wafers similar to the pins of a pin tumbler lock to the correct heights, there creates a gap, and then you're able to turn it and open. Now, what makes wafer locks different is because they use wafers, which are little slots of metal, as I've covered on previous episodes. And because of that, they have a couple of features. This is only keyed to one side, but you can actually both push and pull on both sides of the wafers, which means you can have double-sided keys, like what you see on car keys. And the other problem is that while you can move the wafers with a normal lockpick, such as this short hook here, the problem is that, I just want to make sure I have the right side. Yes, I have the right side. Is that because the wafers are way thinner, they're like literally like, if you think of a width of a sheet of paper, that's what the wafers are like. They're not wide and round like the pins are. And also because they're wafers, they don't really roll that well like the way pins do. It's actually difficult, especially for beginners, to use a normal pick to feel and pick open a wafer lock. Also, because a lot of wafer locks are automotive and have more wafers than most pin and tumbler locks have pins, sometimes the shafts are too short, which I'll give you a spoiler of with this type of lock. You can see how that this shaft here is shorter than this one. Heyo! And that is because, again, the one on the right's design, I'm going to get into that in a moment, automotive locks, they often, it's like most pin and tumbler locks are 6 pins at max. Some might reach 7 or 8. A lot of wafer locks are 11 to 13 wafers, maybe even 15. So they need a longer reach. And so sometimes, that's the other reason why you can't pick a wafer lock open. But in any case, just like with everything else with lock picking, there are specialty picks that you can make or buy that you can use. You use a standard above or above or bottom of the keyway tension wrench. In this case, I'm going to use a bottom of the keyway normal tension wrench for this one as a demo. And what the tools that they have made, and just because of time, I'm not going to do the usual questionnaire thing, are called the ball, or in this case, half ball, because it's one side. See, I'm talking about my balls on this show, as you do. And the snowman, because there's usually one ball smaller than the other, just like in real life. And when you stand them up, they look like a little snowman. You put little 2 dots and a carrot on there, and it'll look like a snowman. And the reason for this shape is because the wideness and the curvature of the roundness of the end of the pick, as opposed to it being very pointy for the pins, allows it to grasp the wafers better, and thus you can either single wafer pick them, or you can use that same pick, and this is particularly what the snowman is good for, or the double half balls, you can actually rake with the same pick, which is something that you usually can't do with most single pin picks unless it's a half a diamond. Let's see, it's a British fied from being a fan from some pop culture. Try to keep myself from having pending Southern dialect by developing a British accent dialect. Wow, actually, that would be an interesting. I'm trying to imagine what a British English in a Southern accent would sound like, and my head is just. I'm gonna have to take migraine medication. Like, I want to both hear that, and yet it horrifies me of what that must sound like. That would be totally cursed, in my opinion. Although I totally get where you're coming from. Although I do have ancestors who were lords in England, proud to union with Scotland. I like how you say union with Scotland, like Scotland chose to be part of the crown. But I have a similar thing too. I always publicly say I'm half black and half Polish, and that way back, my ancestors, and in fact some of my relatives that still live in Poland on that side of the family, are farmers. We are farmers, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. But modern day, we all are involved in tech or general blue-collar work because it's America, We don't want to do smarts. In America, we glorify farming, yet nobody knows how or wants to do it. It's just like Texas. So with wafer locks, again, it's the same techniques, but you're just using a slightly different tool. So in this case, and hopefully I'm not going to have a brain fart and screw up, let me actually move the meese over here so I don't keep like hitting it with my elbow or something. Put that over there. That works in the meantime. So we're doing bottom of the keyway tension. We're going to get to this lock in this moment, and we're going to do light tension like we do with all of our other beginning locks, and the curve is going to be pointed towards the wafers because it's only one side. And I should be able to go in, and I should be able to move those wafers, and we already got it open. So that was me pushing each wafer up and down, and I should probably actually use a slightly thinner. Hopefully that's not for me. It's never an episode. It's never a DCG tool on live stream without sirens going on in the background for no reason. But I can also go in with that same ball and do the raking technique. And hold on, let's reset. I might have to use a thinner, which is fine because it's going to be the opposite for the bike lock. Yeah, this bottom of the keyway tension wrench is too high. It's too high, man. I'm going to use this one, which is thinner, which can be more space at the top. You always want to have a good amount of space at the top. The more space, the better. Okay, almost. And see, so whether it's single wafer picking or raking the wafers, I'm used to saying pins, that's how you can do a wafer lock. Now, how is this all relevant to this bike lock I found? Well, again, this is a wafer lock. Although there's something extremely unusual about this, which is why I'm like, oh Lord, I have to get this. But let's quickly read chat first. I've considered trying lock picking, but I'm always worried about breaking the pick. Okay, so quick things. I'm always doing tangents on this. Don't worry about breaking the picks because of a couple of reasons. One, most picks, unless you get them really cheap from China, are actually really solid good picks. Most are made out of solid stainless steel or other materials. Some of them, a couple of them are even made out of titanium, if you can believe that. And they're usually good grade metal. Second of all, everyone will eventually break their lock picks. I mean, heck, even though I haven't picked my normal single pin picks, I used to have a different distatainer pick before I got the Sparrows one that I broke, that I still want to glue back on because I don't want to wait the month to import it from China in order to get a new one. So don't worry about breaking the picks because you're inevitably going to break the picks. Even experts like Bosnian Bill, lockpicking lawyer, have not only broken picks but have broken picks live on air. And again, most picks are pretty quality steel, and also it really also depends on your instructor. If you follow the directions, do the instructions well, you probably aren't going to break your picks just like the way I do. And the key is that since you're in the beginning, one, there's no rush, and two, everything is about tensioning. You're going to start off with a bottom of the keyway tensioner of your choice, and then a single pin pick, probably a short hook just to start out with because the short hook is the most common universal tool for most lock picks, for most locks and pin and tumbler locks. And the key is you're going to be doing light tension for everything. So the pins you're going to put force on, but you're not going to need very much. For the tension wrench, if you're worried about breaking that, you actually need to do light tension. The best way I can describe it without touching you, because it's virtually, and also I'd have to have your consent, obviously, is, oh, we forgot something important. I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish the story. I'm glad I did that before we got into this lock. But that you're going to want light tension. It's the amount that you need to hold a piece of paper up, the minimum amount without it falling from the wall. If you need a visual, it's as much as once the core rotates, when you start putting pressure, as soon as it stops rotating, that's all the pressure you need. And another visual, at any time with those two techniques, if the tip of your finger starts turning white, you're putting way too much tension. Ease the tension off. That's good for beginners. There are more advanced locks that and heavier locks. Usually the heavier the shackle, the more tension you have to do, where you will have to like almost bend this to the point of it nearly breaking. But again, that's going to be later on in a month or three when you get used to Master Lock number threes, Master Lock 120s, 140s, various practice progressive locks. So don't worry about that yet. Once you get into those, once you start moving from beginner into intermediate, then you'll be doing different types of tensioning, especially for security pins. But when you start out, light tension on the tension wrench, force on the pins, and don't worry about breaking things yet, because one, you're never going to break things. Your initial lock picking set should probably be really cheap, should be under $20. The cheaper the better, unless they're imported from China. Don't use Chinese lock picks like the normal set, to be honest, for the most part, because it's tricky. Two is that they're usually made out of high quality steel, and also you're never really going to break your tools when you do this hobby, so just don't worry about it. So anyhow, before we get into this, I forgot to say this on the spiel because my brain has been in such a place, but before we continue on, I'm going to do the intro spiel that I should have done. Bad side pocket, bad, before we even did our break and tilt the camera down. So there's two, even though this is not a tool sponsored stream, I am a Tool member, and even though it's not a Tool sponsor stream, I like to follow the two main rules of the open organization of lockpickers, simply because it makes sense. It protects you, it protects me, legally and ethically. And so the two rules are: do not pick locks that you rely on. Any techniques, if you have this bike lock, or you see another wafer lock or a pin tumbler lock or whatever, and you have one in your home, on your car, your garage, your gym, your school, and you use that for guarding stuff, don't pick that lock, because you rely on it. As I said, you could break your tools in it. You'll wear out the lock mechanism as you pick it. It's more susceptible to that picker bypass by others, things like that. And the second, which should be obvious, but it needs to be said, especially in the United States, where the obvious is not the obvious because people are that dense, is do not pick locks that you don't own. If I pick open this lock and I tell you how to pick it open, and you see this type of bike lock on someone else's bike, and you're like, oh, I know, you just use the don't do that. Even if it's a shitty lock, and I doubt this one is, there's a lock on there for a reason. That person's trying to protect something that's valuable, or at least perceived value to them. Going on other people's property or near people's property where it's locked off is automatic trespassing. People will get angry. They'll try to fight you. It's just a bad idea to do that. So once again, do not pick locks that you rely on, and do not pick locks that you don't own. All the locks and tools that you see here, including this bike lock, which is going to go into my training kit for other people to practice on, especially our next meeting next week on Friday, at Helen's Pizza in Jersey City, are there for me to practice lockpicking and to give to others to further their craft in practicing lockpicking. Okay, so we have roughly, by the way, 10-15 minutes left, and I'm going to end the stream. I know it's short stream. Trust me, the next Crypto Barons is going to be a way longer stream. It's going to be our normal length. And then I think most of the future streams, scheduled pending, are all going to be back to their normal 2+ hour length, so don't worry about it. And if you notice, like with today, they'll be mostly on time. So let's get back into this lock now that we know. Do not pick locks that you rely on. Do not pick locks that you don't own. Are we good? Good. So this is a wafer lock, but what I find interesting is that I don't have them with me, and I'm not going to have someone else give them to me because I don't want to dox how their bidding works on their keys. But if you have a pair of car keys or any key, you will notice that any key that is like completely straight edged like this is usually what a key looks like, will usually have the bidding, which is those little peaks and valleys, on the outside. And in terms of wafer locks, they're usually double-sided, which is why wafer lock rakes like these are double-sided with different peaks and valleys to match that for raking. Now, here's what makes this interesting. So you can't really see it here, but when I looked in here, I noticed that all the wafers had little tabs sticking out of them all the way down. These are the same tabs that would normally be on the outside of the wafer if we had X-ray vision, or we were able to cut this lock open and see what works on the inside. That would be used to catch the springs, which is how all the wafers are tensioned. It had those same little notches. I'm sure it has those too on the outside, but it has them on the inside part of the wafers. And I was wondering that until I saw these keys. Now, this is fascinating here. So when I first saw this key inside the packaging, I thought, oh, if you can see here, it's the bidding you would see on the outside, but it's on the inside. It's what they did was what they did was they cut a chunk out on the inside of it that's like a couple of like a half a millimeter thick, and then made the two-sided biddings, but two-sided biddings, but they carved it out on the inside of the lock body. So instead of having peaks and valleys on the outside, it's like shaved off in the middle. And I thought it's because that way it'd be solid on the back, cut out on the other side, and that way you couldn't see the bidding as well unless you actually saw the side. But lo and behold, it is cut the same way on both sides. And that made me realize, oh, it's duplicated cut just like the way a car key would with the same bidding on both sides. And that's what those notches are. Instead of pushing or letting it slide down the different wafers, it's actually going along those tabs and pulling them close or not as close in order to get the shear lines correct in order to open the lock. So that's fascinating. And so what we're going to see is if we can use odd tensioners. Now I'm going to explain really quick of why I'm using top of the keyway tensioner pry bars and this split tensioner. These rounded lock picks that are specialized for wafer picks, and these specialized car wafer rakes from Goso, which is why they have the bread handles on them, to see if we can pick this open, or if it's because of those notch system cuts that maybe this is a lost cause, or maybe just my skill level is not that good. But the first thing we're going to do, and let me actually adjust this so I can bring the camera back just a little bit. Down a bit more. Okay, that's a good height. There we go. I should stay, push the camera up a little bit more. Good. Back down. Perfect. Okay, so first we're going to make sure that the keys work. So again, what it's going to do is it's going to catch those notches and it's going to pull or not pull the sequence of wafers into the actual core of the lock key here. And then that should allow us to turn this, so it should go in. This is brand new. I haven't even lubed this, so there we go. And then when we turn it, that should move the actuator in here, which should open these two tabs, and then this part should slide out. So, yep. And we can also see here that there's normal notches, which means you could possibly shim this, but usually the shims you would have to use would be like razor thin. This shackle and the latches in here are so thick, I don't think that's a possibility. And yeah, and there should be, and it's key retaining, so the key will not fall out, no matter what I do. It will not, key retaining means it will hold it in the lock until I lock it again. And this is how it kind of stays until when you have to put your bike, you take this, you put it around the main beam in the bike, and then you slide it in. We go the other way, pull it out, and now it's locked again. Okay? Now, so what we're going to try to figure out how to do is we're going to see if we can open this. Now, here's a funny thing that I wasn't expecting as like an odd security feature in terms of lockpicking this, and that is this. And okay, so there's a thing about locks, and the thing about locks is that, and I have to tell this to, especially when I have to go to the Liberty Science Center or some Girl Scout camp or whatever, I have to always explain this to the instructors, and it's this. This lock sport, lock picking, along with running cables through a building, are two professions that no matter what you do, you're going to end up with innuendos. It is literally part of the job. You cannot avoid them. You just have to either grow up or snicker hee hee ha ha and move on. I've actually threatened a couple of times to do episodes where we put a little counter in the corner that ticks up every time I've accidentally said innuendo on here. And sometimes that counter gets pretty high up. But the reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to make, unlike past episodes, I'm going to make a deliberate innuendo that once I say this, every time you see this type of bike lock with this type of plasticine coating on it, you are going to never unsee this. So I apologize in advance. If you want to skip the next like 5 or 8 seconds so that you don't have that burn in your brain, please do as I read what's been said in chat. And once I'm going to tell you this, and you're never going to unsee it. So as I said, it's like they want you to practice on that lock. No, there are a lot of locks I see where like if it gets tricky or has an odd thing about it, like that I usually don't see with most locks, I will, if I have the money, that is, I will end up buying it, and it usually ends up in my kit for everyone to use. Even if I can't open it, like I'll put it this way, if there's a lock I can open, it goes in the beginner section. If there's a lock I have a hard time opening or I legit can't open, it goes into my naughty bucket, which I give to obnoxious tool members and other lock pickers who think that they're hot shit. And then I'm like, here, go fuck with this for an hour. So I do that, and I have a lot of them. That's why I have not 1 but 2 clubs that you use to hook up for your car. I have a python snake that we covered on one episode, things like that. I'm not a collector, but I am always getting unique stuff. Okay, so you ready for this innuendo? And again, I apologize. So, as you notice, when they put the rubberized sleeve on this thing, they didn't end it right where the lock body is. They like left a bit of it on. So thanks to what I can only call this lock's artificial foreskin, it's actually provided a weird level of security, kind of like I guess how foreskins work in real life. Maybe, although I don't advise you putting lock picking equipment in there. There's certain people that are into that, but we don't cover that on this show, nor do we endorse that. It's called sounding. Look it up on DuckDuckGo. Don't ask me how I know that. So this lip rim here on the foreskin of this bike lock actually makes this a big pain in the ass for tensioning, because most of the tensioning for this is there's shallow prongs. And when I initially was futzing around with this, I could not properly get this in and tension it unless I did it at an angle. And what's also odd is because of also how wide this keyway is, sometimes as I was turning it, as you can see there, it will actually, if it unclips, like I'm going to do on purpose here, it will then push it so that fully closes it and loses the tension. So I'm probably not going to use this. What I found to work better, and then I stopped because I wanted to do my reaction on the air, is to actually take a thick pry bar and tension it in the middle and then work my tools around that sort of tensioning. So we're going to try that initially, and I'm actually going to stand for this because that will be better for me. And we're going to see how this works. So I'm going to try kind of, and the other thing is I don't know how much tension I need to put in. So just also keep that in mind. So we're going to see how we can hook this better. Actually, should I use the shallower end? Maybe? That actually might work. I could also cut this and peel this back, but I kind of want a challenge here. So I'm going to tension it like that. First we're going to rake. We're going to try both sides. Angle it a bit so that you can all see. I feel something coming loose. And again, we're going to have to keep doing this. I'm going to give myself about 8 or so minutes to see if we can get anywhere with this. Because even with the little prongs, the actual wafer should jut out enough where normal wafer picking tools should work on it. Keyword is should. No guarantee. And it's interesting because you hear that? A bunch of wafers, I don't know if that microphone picked it up, but you can hear a bunch of them drop, which means they are sticking. And what I think it probably is that I have to figure out how much tension you actually need. That's ultimately going up. I have the wrong end. That's ultimately going to be the problem, is I honestly don't know how much I should tension. My guess is that I was initially tensioning hard because of how thick the shackle is, but I'm going to try lighter tensions and see if we can get it open. If not, I will attempt a single wafer pick. Although what's also interesting about these wafers is I think because of the interior design of the key, the wafers feel like they're closer together than they are on most wafer locks. So I don't know if I'll be able to actually feel the wafers like what you would normally do on a wafer lock. So we're going to find out. So this time I'm just going to use super light tension, see what we get. Because I might try the key again to try to guesstimate how much tension we should use. I'm going to laugh if we actually get this open. And then I'm going to try to single wafer pick it. I'm going to try 2 more different tensions. I'm going to try a single wafer pick it. And if not, then we're going to do a quick one. We're going to try the automotive picks. And we're going to see if any of those can actually open this, because at the end of the day, it's still a double-sided wafer lock. Let's see. I want to hear if there's any clicks. Okay, so there are clicks. So let me kind of semi-rake, semi-feel around in there. Okay. I'm also wondering, because there is a lot of high-low highs in the rake, sorry, in the wafers. I'm also wondering too if, which is why I have that other ball pick, is if they're trying, if they also bidded this in a wafer style high-low high sort of thing, which is why trying to pick the wafer singly might be a bust, simply because I have to like loop around other. I'm kind of feeling that too. I have to like loop around other wafers to drop them. I'm gonna just try super hard tension and rake it, and then try to pick it. Then we'll try a different tool, and we'll see if this works. So I just want to actually after we do this hard rake, I'm going to try to use the key again just to feel how much you actually need to turn the key in order to open this. I also am going to need a handbrake shortly. Not like a handbrake like I need to stop a vehicle, but like I need to like take a break from my hands because this thing is heavy. I'm standing at a very odd angle here because this is the first time we're live streaming from this location, which again is already way better than streaming from McDonald's. I'm happy to be at the secret hacker hideout here that I have going on with its laser grid security and all of its attack cats, which you might see roaming around at this point. I've been temporarily neutralized with a type of specific scent they're designed for, so that the cats will not attack me. Well, I should clarify, they won't kill me. They might do an occasional security audit test by trying to nibble my fingers and toes, but until I decide to clock out and they destench me, the cats are trained to not to kill anyone with that particular type of smell. So that's one of the unique security measures around here that will detail. I'll not tell you what sort of chemical that is needed. I will say that petting them does help. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll be right back. I'm going to get a thing for my hands because, again, we are in practice here. So there's no real rush, even though I do have to end the stream soon because I have a place to go. Let's see if we can get this guy. Here we go. Now we have a return of the Grip Master, which is something I've been trying to get more into this just because the past couple of months for me have been crazy. So I have been training my grip as much as I want to, and this helps to train your grip. This is a medium tension. Later on, I'm going to get a more hard tension one when I've built back my hand strength. And it helps me with lock picking, but it's not 100% necessary. I actually more have this as like a sort of a bootleg stress ball to de-stress my hands and fingers when I've been holding a heavy lock and doing a lot of precise or wild movements for way too long, in addition to your usual like hand stuff going on here, the cracks with that, stuff like that. I'm going to rotate my hands off camera. There we go. All right, so we just used this one. Now I'm going to try now this rounded pick that has more of a bent to it, and the snowman. And we're going to see if we can get any bit of progress with these two. And then we're going to use the split head one in the best way we can and try one of the automotive rakes for wafer locks and see if that works. So I'm in here now. I'm going to do light tension on this. Okay, this is interesting. I can kind of feel things a bit better here. It's a little steep, so I do have to move around stuff, but that's really interesting because, again, I have that whole high-low-high thing going on with the bidding. I'm going to put the keys back on camera here in the background. I have that high-low-high bidding that's carved in the middle of the key, and I was sort of feeling that with that other rounded half-ball wafer pick. So I think I'm kind of right here with that. That means, unless there's security wafers in here, it should be susceptible to raking. But this is kind of a bit of a good sign when it comes to that. The real challenge is, again, that I'm using this pry bar detention in the middle, so I have to kind of maneuver my way around that. And again, and I'm probably going to be experimenting this all week, I don't know what tension to give it. I don't know if I should be giving it really light tension, medium tension, heavy tension, that sort of stuff. I have honestly no idea. So I'm testing, every time you see me like take the pick out, reset it and redo it, I'm testing a different tensioning strength just to see if, because sometimes I have the correct bidding order, the binding order that you're supposed to use, but I'm using too much tension or too light tension. I've literally had it where I've actually opened the lock. I've put everything to their shear lines, but it didn't move because I didn't realize that the shackle or the spring mechanism inside the lock was so heavy that I actually needed a larger tension in order to force it open. So that's a whole thing there. So I take a quick break with this, and I'm just going to take this key and put it in because I just want to see again how much do you need in order to turn it. Okay, you don't need almost anything. So I think that's why I was actually making good progress before with the light tension, because that gave me the hint of that you probably barely need anything at all in order to tension this open. So that is a good sign. That is a good sign. A good sign. Actually, let me go back to this half ball here. So now that I know that, that was I was actually a little shocked of how that was literally nothing when it came to tensioning this. So I try to talk while I pick because it also helps relieve tension and not tension on the lock, but my own personal body tension. It helps relax me. So that a lot of times when I'm distracted, I end up picking the lock better, believe it or not. But if you ever hear me go silent for little pieces of time, that's me trying to concentrate. So I heard stuff fall down there. I'm going to retension, and I'm going to try to single rake it again. Then we're going to use the snowman, and then we're going to use the automotive locks and see if that changes anything. It's weird because I can feel the core begin to rotate. But it's not opening. I don't know if that's like a security wafer or am I just an idiot and not doing it right? It's probably a combination of both, to be honest. I'm leaning more towards I'm an idiot and I'm not doing it right. Because for anyone who's seen this show, or if they can tell you in chat, there's so many episodes where we've dealt with a lock and we have been unable to open it. And then I'll do literally like the next episode or 2 episodes later, we revisit that same lock, even if it makes a cameo. And we end up opening it like instantly, and I'm like, here's the thing I didn't do that made the lock easier to open than a ham sandwich, and that often happens. Which gives me some promise for if we use the automotives. So now I'm going to try a quick experiment here. I am going to use the snowman, and even though I don't think I can hit both sides of it at the same time, I just want to see if that might make a difference here. Now, odd thought, I've always hoped that people, I mean, you can enjoy and watch this stream wherever you want, as long as you're watching and you're hitting subscribe on Twitch, D Live, or YouTube if you haven't done that yet. And especially if what probably really makes me happy is when you subscribe on YouTube and you click that bell and you turn on all notifications, because YouTube is a fucking dumbass and doesn't do that by default. That always makes me happy. But so if you can enjoy the stream any way you want, but sometimes I wonder and I kind of hope if people are fully clothed and they watch the stream, because again, this whole hobby is endless innuendos, whether you want to or not. So I do know that most of these videos are me just shoving random objects into holes violently, and I'm pretty sure someone out there likes that. So, you know, I'm not kink shaming anyone. It's just, you know, as a content creator, especially since I'm one of the few, if not the only person, I'm definitely one of the few lockpickers on Twitch in particular. YouTube is saturated with them. But I'm one of the very few that actually do this live on a live stream. My mentor, Night Owl, used to do it for a while, but his life got way more hectic than me, and it still is, especially now that he's in charge of Tool USA now. What was I getting to with this? You know, since I'm like the only one doing this on Twitch in particular, and I'm definitely the only one doing it on DLive and Facebook and stuff, and PeerTube, it kind of makes you wonder as a content creator. Oh, yeah. Well, no, funny enough, so one of the things I unfortunately had to cancel this year was we were going to do yet another sex hacking meetup actually this month. And then all of the Crypto Barons, Master of Unlocking, and other live streams were going to be sex, tech, and sex-related. Unfortunately, that's going to be delayed either to June or November of next year. All the people lining up who had stuff, they still want to do it next year. I just hope nothing drops out. I'm still really excited for that. And the other thing about it, too, is that, so I have lockpicking content that is designed for, like tastefully to stream, but still like different kinks and stuff like that. So those will be future streams. You will see those. And of course, there's a stream that was originally going to be done for Pride that I'm trying to do next month for Halloween, because next month's going to be the spooky month, although our main meeting is going to be Hacktoberfest themed. I take a quick break, and we're going to try one more thing, and that's the end of the stream, because now we're running on overtime here. But that there's one episode that I particularly want to do from a friend of mine, Steve Warder. Hello, Kat. That despite me delaying it from Pride to October, I really can't wait to do. So the next thing we're going to do is this is from the Goso 20-piece starter set. These are auto rakes, and they work exactly the way rakes that you use for normal pin tumbler locks do, and even wafer locks with the ball ones. What makes them different is, one, as you can see, they're double-sided, and two is that they're longer because they're designed to be an automotive, which usually has 13 or so or more wafers all the way in the back. So we're going to try each one. Now, here's the part that's going to drive me crazy, is this, like most queer people, that drives me crazy, is this goddamn foreskin. So I really don't want to convert it to a new religion and chop it off. So I am going to try to attempt to peel it back. And again, as someone said in chat, this is one hell of a kink. I probably violated so many Twitch terms and services right now or something. So if this is what you like, you're welcome. All right. So the hard part is that it's going to keep trying to shrink back on. I'm going to try to at least keep it maintained below. And so we're going to focus on that. And we're going to try each one, see if it works. Squeeze this to fit it in. Slide this over. reset. It is setting them though, so that's a good piece of thing to do. Lightweight, light tension here. Trying to make sure this doesn't pop out. And again, I'm doing this at such an odd angle. Oh, see, I told you it popped out. Just fighting that foreskin again. There's another human here at the Secret Underground Hacker base. I'm pretty sure when this live stream ends, they're going to be like, why do I keep hearing you yelling the word foreskin for the past 20 minutes? I know that's going to be a thing. All right, so I think I have the foreskin mostly under control. Let's try the same one again, and then we're going to switch through different tools. Okay, so that one didn't open. Although it is setting, I can actually see it. I'm going to do it one more time, super light. Oh, it pops. See, this is what I mean. This is why I've been doing medium tension, because if I don't, it pops out. So let's try it. Let's go. We have 4 more to go, and then we're going to end the stream. So this is just a simple double-sided one. One's longer than the other. Let's see if that makes a difference. This is fun, because I originally thought I wasn't going to use this until we did the automotive lock episode, but turns out we actually could do it here, so that makes me happy. Okay, so that one doesn't work. This one has a more of a peak and a valley thing going on. 2 single bump. Let's try that. And again, we're definitely going to revisit this lock in the future. I might even revisit it during the automotive section. This one, because of the height difference, is a little bit harder to control. The shorter side tends to pop out first, which hurts my hand. Just all right. So we have 2 more left. Now we have, this one's like a even-sided one, 3 prongs, so it's like a double-sided triple peak or Bogota. Let's reset. I'm going to try super hard tension to see if we achieve anything. Nothing with that one, and then we're going to try one last one. Seems like that first one we did, which was a double peak. So this one has a triple peak on one side and a single peak on the other. So we'll do this one 2 different sides. Ow. Keep poking myself. Because, you know, nothing says lockpicking like tetanus, right? Lock, sport, and tetanus, they go hand to hand like lying and politician. Of course, which is the main problem when you poke yourself at lockpicks, is that, especially these are all tender parts of your hand. And that's why I usually have like a first aid kit with Band-Aids and especially, disinfectant nearby to, you know, so that way bacteria and tetanus doesn't happen. So oddly enough, it seems like, and I want to try one last thing, that this double-sided one was the best one for it. That was a 2-peak. So I'm going to actually try doing, because we're going to build this up, light tension, do a quick rake, put it in a false set, whoop, with it not popping out, and then I'm going to go in with the half ball and see if I can single wafer pick one of these. Doing too much tension with that. Hang on. Let's reset. The worst part is what I usually do is I use my hand to hold it on top on one side and then tension it, but I have to use my hands to pull back this foreskin. God, things I never thought I would say in lockpicking in front of a live audience. Like, I almost want to tell Lockpicking Lawyer about this lock so that he could use it for his April Fool's thing where he makes hilarious innuendo lockpicking videos on purpose. I can't wait to see what it's going to be this year. He's done one on his cock, his wife's beaver, his wife's back door, and his snake. So, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but it should be pretty fucking funny. I know that most of the video here is just a lot of my hands. And last but not least, let me just rake with the normal ball pick while I have the split tong pick here. So I have to do both sides. And let's try the ball rake. Yeah, see, the weird thing is I feel like the split one is not tensioning it enough. What really seems to work is this bar, but I can't, like, I need basically like a split tension wrench with longer prongs, but the width of this pry bar, that seems to be like the goose that lays the golden egg right there. So I just want to try one last thing, see if it works, because I'm probably just going to get stuck. I don't even know if you can do this. Ooh, actually, that's a good idea. Or not. As soon as I say that's a good idea, you want more. Let's see, can I do this like that? And then... Nah, it holds it down too much. So yeah, we've tried everything. It has not opened, not because, like, I mean, this is pretty well built. Like, this will, if you have a bike and you want to lock it, I don't see anything you can do wrong with this, especially if you're worried about people, like, actually breaking into stuff. What I will say is that due to my current skill level, and especially probably the current tools that I have, I will not be able to open this lock on air, but at least we gave it a good college try. So because of that, give me a minute. We're going to go on a minute break. I'm going to do the wrap-up, and then we'll send you all on your merry way. If you're on Twitch, we're going to raid a channel, and I'll explain like what the future live stream stuff is. So hold on. Enjoy the music. We are not going away just yet. We're just going to do some cleanup here, and away we're going to go. So we'll be right back. See you guys in a moment.
We go out like a flame in the lights. Feel the heat from the fire inside. We go out and take over the night. Keep it burning. We've come so far to be standing where we are. It feels so close, like we're reaching for the stars.
There we go. Now the mic's on. Hi. So we're back for real quick. First of all, as you can see, I'm wearing the correct shirt now. This is a shirt that I normally try to wear on every episode of the show. Second of all, I know that for most of you, this only seems like a couple of seconds long because we normally stream for way longer than this, like the wee hours in the morning. But I do have something to do after this that I'm probably actually going to be late for, but it's not a huge emergency. If it's an emergency, I always cancel streams or move them around. But either way, I had a very good time checking out this crazy bike lock with a weird design. I'm going to take a crack at it on any of the rare spare time that I have now with the 2 jobs, trying to figure out if I can crack it. When I meet another tool member, I'm going to pick their brain for their advice and stuff like that. So I'm really happy I got to do this episode. So as someone just asked in chat, when's the next stream? That's what we partly do on this wrap up. So let me check the calendar real quick. So again, normally we do the first and we normally do the first and third Sunday of the month. However, because I'm going to be working at my second job tomorrow during the stream time, I decided to prompt the stream early, which is probably why, while I'm actually happy and good about the amount of people who are watching this, we don't normally have the amount because it usually happens on Sunday. So next month, we should be completely back on schedule. So again, pay attention. I'm going to actually include the spiel in this wrap up. Pay attention to our social medias. You pay attention to our Medium blog here. So sorry, the first thing I sent was social media, so that's the link tree with all of them, including our Twitter at DEFCON201NJ and DEFCON201 at Instagram, but we're on many others. You can check out that link tree link I just put in chat. Definitely check out our blog for our upcoming stuff on our meetups, including our actual in-person meetup, which should still be scheduled. It's a week delayed on the 23rd. Next week on the 25th, I believe on the 25th, but I'll have to double check. It's normally supposed to be on the 24th, but that's when we do our episode of Crypto Barons. So basically stay tuned. We'll announce the actual date for that. Again, scheduling is going to be up in the air until October begins. So all you need to know is 23rd is our physical meeting. We might not really have any talks or anything, but we're still going to hang out. We'll have physical lockpicks there. It's going to be at Helen's Pizza in Jersey City, New Jersey, and it should be from 7 p.m. until around closing, which is 10:30 for that place. Really awesome people. You can buy pizza with cryptocurrency. It's great. Crypto Barons will either happen on the 24th or the 25th. That's Friday or Saturday at 8 p.m. And then we should be back to mostly normal in October. So October, the next 2 episodes, first and third Sunday of the month, should be October 2nd and October 16th. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do on those episodes. There's still stuff I want to see if I can get things in the mail. I might find something new locally. We might check out something really cool online. Maybe I'll be interviewing a guest on here. But basically, stay tuned. If you've seen all our other episodes, one of the 2 Halloween episodes will be that. And I will say that probably on the second episode, on the 16th, we're going to do that Halloween one I've always wanted to do. I'm going to keep that as a surprise because I think when I announce it, everyone's going to be like, what? Because I've never seen a lock sporter ever do this, especially for Halloween. So that one I'm going to keep a surprise just so that if it does happen, the shock and awe will be completely worth it. So anyhow, that's sort of it for our show here at the Master of Unlocking. Thank you for tuning in. I forgot, I was so intense and I forgot to say this again, but once again, until at least the end of October, it might extend to November, we are still raising money, and we are, even if we're not streaming, for the National Abortion Federation. We're going to be doing some bigger live streams in October that should hopefully get a bigger kick in the pants. It's for not only for people who have uteruses and their spouses and family members because of the terrible scrotum. I've said foreskin so many times. I almost said scrotum, which is probably a more accurate anagram than SCOTUS. But because of the SCOTUS ruling, because of their obsession with scrotums, not only are those people incredibly screwed, which is like over half the country, but they actually rolled back a base privacy right for every single United States citizen, regardless of gender, which basically means as long as they make the excuse that they're worried about sexual reproduction, they can essentially legally spy on you in your living room without warrant or consent. So if you thought the Patriot Act was bad, the Patriot Act actually gained more power because of that ruling. So if you live in America, they'll just, if you're gaming on something and you have your camera, the NSA will just spy on you. And then when you ask, hey, that's illegal, you didn't do a warrant, they're going to be like, well, we thought maybe you were making a baby. Oh, also, all of these illegal graphics cards you don't have. That's what they literally are doing that right now. There's been a couple of cases like that already. So that's what the National Abortion Federation does, both boots on the ground and in lawyers to fight for that. So as people who really care about not only just basic human beings, but privacy, we think it's a great cause. So we're trying to raise money for that. I post the link in chat if you want to do a last minute donation or just really any time. We'll congratulate you online if you donate when we're not on air. You can also scan this QR code while you can at the lower left corner of the screen. Or if you go to our Twitch, we have a little widget that will take you directly to that link. It's held by Tiltify. They deal with all the money. And the great thing about Tiltify is even if we don't make our goal by the end of October, all the money that's currently donated and all the money that has been donated, including from Anthony, who donated $20 previously, will all go to the charity, whether or not we reach our goal or not. So that's awesome. So anyhow, as we now, since my scent's wearing off, the cats are now negotiating their contract of if they can kill me or not in the secret hacker compound. So I'm going to get going. If you are on Twitch, stay tuned. Twitch is going to get rid of raiding in about 2 weeks. So we're trying to raid as many streams as we can to get the boost going before that feature gets taken away. And eventually Twitch is, I'm convinced next year Twitch is going to take away video streaming. It'll be audio only. Like that's how dumb this company is. But we're going to go raid someone. So if you're on Twitch, stay tuned. You might see a cool tech thing, something completely random, an odd bit of history. We're just going to find a cool person that we like and follow, probably usually in the tech or maker world that we're going to stream. So stay tuned. For everyone else, I hope to see you at the upcoming meeting that should be next Friday on the 23rd, 7 p.m. In person only. We're going to try to do some sort of live stream later on. I hope to see you for Crypto Barons either next Saturday or next Sunday on the 24th, 25th. And I will see you at Master of Unlocking on October 2nd at our normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, oh, I'm sorry, not rating. Yes, hosting is going away. We're trying to rate as much as possible because hosting is going away, and we use hosting a lot. And we've also been hosted many times, which is how a lot of people have found our channel because we're a group channel. So, sorry, hosting is what's going away. It still sucks. That's why we're trying to rate as much as possible to make up for the fact that we can't host people anymore. So anyhow, that's our episode. I hope to see you there. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you check us out on our website. I hope you donate to the National Abortion Fund whenever you can. Thank you for watching Master of Unlocking. I'm Sidepocket. Hack the Planet. Dirty Jersey represent. And remember, sometimes in life, just like in locks, you might think a lock is one thing, but it actually is something different. And believe it or not, most of the times, it's not a downer that it's not what you got. Sometimes it makes things more interesting and better, like it did this episode. I'd elaborate more, but unfortunately I've run out of time. I'm already late to where I need to go. So stay tuned, everyone. See you later. Keep posted. Enjoy the music. See you next time. Peace. Hack the planet.
never been like humid though. I've never been this.